1942, I was a senior at Terrebonne. And my dad had a grocery store on the corner of Liveron and Hobson. And we would work, all three boys would help Daddy out. One Saturday night, we would go almost ready to close. And here comes a Marine walking the front door. See? He was recruiting. And I was kind of ready to go, you know, because I was going to graduate that year. He returned me down on account of my eyes, you see. So that Monday I got back to school and I started talking to Coach Tom Smith, told him what the situation was. I was still only 17 years old. He said, buddy, what I can do is drop you a subject and then you can't graduate. You can come back and play another year. In those days you could play 10 semesters. Today you could only play 8. When the next school year started, which was 42, they gave me 3 subjects. And then that was my last year. So I finished school in 42. No, 43. 42 was the football season. 43 was when school was out. As soon as I graduated, I made some plans with some of my friends, George A. Bear, who was the assessor for years, a couple of other guys. We're going to New Orleans and we're going in. I said, look, fellas, they can't draft me yet. I'm not old enough. I can go where I want to go. So sure enough, I heard about the CBs. I said, I think I'm going to go to the CBs. Compared to the Army, it was just a private. I think they got $50 a month. I got $75 a month. So I take off and I go to Virginia for training, and then they send us to Maine for a couple of months, then all the way to California. And then I spent 33 years altogether, but 2 years in the Pacific. I got the Navy in I think it was March of 46, and I graduated in 50. And I played football the last 2 years there, because before 46, they used a single wing formation, and I wasn't fixed for that. They hired a guy from Oklahoma State to put in the T formation. I think Stanford was the first university to use it. And I think the Chicago Bears was the first pro team. So we put it in, and I was the only guy that could throw the football. So they put me at quarterback. And that picture you got is me at quarterback. Now baseball, I made baseball the first 3 years. In the meantime, Ray had already been released from the prison camp in Germany. And he went to LSU. Bishop Shake Snyder was the priest in charge over there. He said, Ray, you know that little school, St. Francis, they need something to get some kids in school. He said, we need some athletics programs. He said, you know, I'm going to be transferred to Houma. He said, look for me a coach. Ray said, oh, look too far, because I was ready to graduate. Sure enough, I started it in 1950. We didn't have a high school baseball team until I started one at St. Francis. Nobody else around here had baseball. But when we started winning all the time, everybody wanted to have baseball. Buck Seaman was coaching at Terrebonne. He didn't like baseball. He didn't want his football players to fool with baseball. Until we started getting all the players at our place to come play baseball. And he changed his mind. And he let Sid Terrio take over for a while. I'll tell you what, for years when I was growing up, every kid in Terrebonne Parish loved baseball. They'd play somewhere. They'd find a lot, they'd get an old broken bat and nail it together and get some tape and go around a ball or something. You know, when I took my job, I knew right away that I was going to have a good baseball team, because I had seen a lot of these kids in the pocket, you know, playing sandlot ball, and I had no problem starting baseball. That started it all right there, you know. And for 10 years, I tell you what, I was a very fortunate coach for 10 years at St. Francis. Those kids wanted to play so bad, you know. And we had a little practice field next to the nuns' living room like parlor or whatever. And Sister Lua could see out the window. She called me in one day. She says, buddy, I don't like what's going on out there. She didn't like the idea of the quarterback putting his hand on the quarterback's butt, on the center's butt. I said, sister, they do that at Notre Dame. I told her, I said, hey, they do that at Notre Dame. So that was it. And then we had to go to Delhi to play them. Rained the whole day. I mean, the water was up to our knees. Conrad Pico was the president of the Terrier Club, and he helped us out a lot. He said, buddy, what you want to do? They wouldn't mind delaying the game a week. I said, Conrad, we can't go all the way back home. I said, let's find out something first. Let's meet with the coach in the middle of the field. I'm going to ask him, look, we got to come back next week. Y'all going to pay our expenses again? He says, oh, no. I said, well, we're playing tonight. And we went back and forth on that damn wet field all night long until we threw a long pass to SP, set up a touchdown. And we made the extra point. They scored a little later. They had a great running back that went to LSU. Boy, he broke up the middle and went about 60 yards. And they didn't make the extra point. We went 7-6. South Terrebonne was a little different. You know, it took me a whole while. But I knew they had good athletes down there. Because we had a few kids from down there when I was at Terrebonne High. They had to come all the way from over there to play football. But I kind of figured out these kids down that Bayou were tough kids, you know, and it's going to take a little while for me to get them going. And especially in baseball, because they didn't play a lot of baseball. The town kids were playing all the time in some kind of program, you know. But the Gano boys came with me, Bruce and Brian, and they helped us get started in football. Brian was a quarterback. Bruce was a hell of a fullback. Look, I coached 31 years. Never had a bit of trouble with any of my players. None.